everyone, welcome back to part 2 Advanced Cybersecurity. Here we will be covering three topics. Come on, let's get started. Cloud security. Uh, have you ever heard about AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud? Yes, many of you must have heard about it. This is where most of the interesting security challenges are happening in 2025. Cloud gives us incredible power and flexibility, but it also means your data is sitting on someone else's hardware in their data centers managed by their software. What does that mean for security? Let's find out. Cloud computing basics. Let me explain IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS using a pizza analogy because everyone understands pizza. Imagine you want to eat pizza. You have three options. The first option is make it yourself at home. You own the kitchen, the oven, the ingredients. You have full control, but you are responsible for everything. Buying ingredients, not burning the pizza, and cleaning up. This is like running your own premise servers. Option 2 is pizza kit delivery. That is, someone sends you pre-made dough, sauce, and toppings. You just need to assemble and bake. They handled the ingredients part. This is IaaS, that is, Infrastructure as a Service. AWS gives you virtual machines and networking. You install the OS, that is, operating system, the applications, and manage the data. AWS manages the physical hardware. And the option 3 is dine-in restaurant. You sit down, order, they make it and bring it to you. You just eat it. This is SaaS, that is software as a service. Gmail, Office 365, Salesforce. These are the examples. The vendor manages absolutely everything. You just use the application. PaaS is in the middle, like a restaurant kitchen you can rent. They give you the kitchen equipment and ingredients. You cook your own recipes. Yes, AWS Elastic, Beanstalk. These are the examples. You bring your code, AWS handles the runtime, OS, and scaling. Understand these layers is critical because security responsibility changes at each layer. The private cloud is dedicated to one organization. So hence it has greater control and compliance but higher cost. The public cloud, it is the resources shared among multiple tenants. And the hybrid is the combination of public and private cloud. Let's go further. Shared responsibility model. This is probably the most important concept in cloud security. And it's the most people get wrong. Yes, most people get it wrong. There's a common misconception. My data is in the cloud, so AWS or Azure is responsible for security. That's the dangerous thinking. People think it completely wrong. Think of it like renting an apartment. The building owner is responsible for the building's structure, the locks on the main entrance, security cameras in the lobby, the elevator working safely. But you are responsible for locking your apartment door, not leaving your window open, and not giving your key to strangers. Yes, right? Similarly, AWS, Azure, or GCP are responsible for the physical data centers, the hardwares, the hypervisors, the core network infrastructure. And you are responsible for your data, who has access to your account, how you configure your services, and what you put in public versus private storage. The most common cloud security breach is not getting hacked. It's an S3 bucket left publicly readable. It's an EC2 instance with SSH open to the entire internet. It's an IAM user with admin privileges whose credentials got leaked in a GitHub commit. All customer errors. Let's take an example. In 2019, Capital One had 100 million customer records exposed from AWS. AWS was not hacked. A misconfigured firewall rule allowed a server to make requests it shouldn't have been able to make. Customer configuration error. Shared responsibility model failure on the customer side. AWS security fundamentals. IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. It is the brain of AWS security. Everything in AWS goes through IAM. Before you even think about any other security control, get IAM right. The golden rules of IAM are: never use the root account for daily operations. That is, root has God mode access to everything, including billing and account deletion. Create individual users. Assign roles, not users to services. Use MFA, that is multi-factor authentication, on every account. Rotate access keys regularly. Audit permissions quarterly. You can open AWS console and see IAM dashboard. First, you need to log in and open your account. Okay. Then you may see the IAM dashboard. Security groups are virtual firewalls for individual EC2 instances. They are stateful. If you allow inbound traffic on port 80, the response is automatically allowed back. Never open all IPs on SSH port 22 or RDP port 3389 to the internet. I promise you, within minutes of doing that, automated bots will start trying to brute force your server. CloudTrail is your audit log for everything that happens in AWS. Who called it, which API, when, from where. If something goes wrong, CloudTrail is where you start the investigation. Enable it in all regions and always. GuardDuty is like a smart IDS for your entire AWS account. It analyzes CrowdTrail logs, VPS flow logs, and DNS logs using machine learning to spot anomalies like unusual API calls, cryptocurrency mining, and unauthorized credential use. Let's go further. AWS security overview. Azure is Microsoft Cloud's heavily used in enterprises, especially those already running Windows and Office 365. Azure Active Directory, now rebranded as Microsoft Entra ID, is the identity platform for everything Microsoft. It's it's not just for Windows login anymore. It handles SSO, that is single sign on, for thousands of SaaS applications, enforces MFA, and has conditional access policies. That is, you can say only allow login from company managed devices from India between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., and everything else gets blocked or challenged. Microsoft Sentinel is Azure's SIEM, that is Security Information and Event Management. It collects logs from everywhere: your Azure resources, your on premise servers, your Office 365, your network devices, and uses AI to correlate events and flag suspicious activity. The power is in the correlation, and failed login is normal. 500 failed logins against 50 different accounts from the same IP at 3 a.m. is an attack. Azure Key Vault. This is This one solves a real problem. Where do you store database passwords in your application? Yes, not in your code. That's how secrets end up on GitHub. Azure Key Vault is a secure vault of secrets, encryption keys, and certificates. Your application requests the secret at runtime. It's never stored in code. Let's take a real world example. If you are building any cloud application, Azure Key Vault or AWS Secrets Manager should be the first thing you set up, not the last. Azure NSGs and Fire, that is Azure Network Security Groups and Azure Firewall, are both vital components of Azure Security Network, but they operate at different layers to serve distinct purposes. NSGs provide basic, localized subnet protection, while Azure Firewall offers advanced centralized application level traffic inspection. Azure Policy and Azure Blueprints are the twin pillars of cloud governance, ensuring your resources meet regularity standards automatically. Azure Policy enforces specific rules at runtime, while Azure Blueprints packages environment creation, that is, policies, templates, and roles into repeatable compliant deployments. Let's go further. Digital forensics. Digital forensics. Have you ever heard about it? Yes. If you have watched like any crime show, uh, then there may be CSI or forensic files. You know what forensic means in the physical world, like collecting evidence, analyze it scientifically, and present it in court. Digital forensic is exactly the same thing, but for computers, phones, networks, and cloud systems. And it's genuinely fascinating. Let me show you how and why. Let's go further. Introduction to Digital Forensics. Digital forensics answers questions not just was the system hacked, but also what exactly happened, when did it happen, and how did the hacker get in? What did they access? What did they take? Did they have help from inside? Can we prove this in court? The scientific method applies to digital forensics just like to physical forensics. Evidence must be collected properly, analysis must be repeatable, conclusions must be defensible. Yes, there are different specializations. So, first is computer forensics, hard drives, file systems, deleted files, and partitions. Next is network forensics, that is packet captures, flow data, log files from the routers, and firewalls. The next is mobile forensics, that is smartphones, which are treasure troves of information, location history, messages, app data, photos, and call logs. Memory forensics. Live RAM dumps, the most time sensitive because RAM is volatile. It disappears when power is cut. The next is cloud forensics, the newest and hardest. Evidence is distributed across multiple servers, multiple regions with limited access and ephemeral resources. Let's take a real life example. In 2016, a 17-year-old hacked into CIA Director John Brennan's personal email. How was he caught? It was digital forensics traced the attack through multiple proxy servers, analyzed metadata from leaked documents, correlated with known hacker communities. He was eventually identified through phone records and IP logs from his own leaked hacking conversations. Incident response stops the bleeding that is active, and forensic response analyzes and reconstructs it. Yes? Now, let's go to the next slide. Evidence collection. Evidence collection is where forensics either succeeds or fails. Get this wrong, and you might not be able to use the evidence in court, or it may worsen. You might accidentally destroy evidence. The order of volatility is the most important principle. Evidence that disappears quickest must be collected first. CPU registers and cache gone in microseconds if power is cut. Practically impossible to capture. RAM stays for seconds to minutes after power cut, with cold boot attacks potentially longer. Must capture immediately while system is running. Network connections, currently open sessions, ARP tables, routing tables, these close the moment you disconnect. Running processes. What's currently executing? Check for unusual process names, processes with no file on disk, such as fileless malware. Disk. The most stable survives. Power cuts can be captured anytime. Log files, relatively stable, but they rotate and can be overwritten. Archived or backup files, most stable, can be captured at last. Forensic imaging. Never work on the original evidence. You make a bit for bit exact copy. A forensic image using tools like DD or FTK Imager. Work only on the copy. The original is sealed, documented, and stored securely. Write blockers are essential. When you connect an evidence drive to your forensics workstation, you must use a write blocker, a hardware or software that physically prevents any writes to evidence drive. Without it, simply connecting the drive writes a few bytes like updating last access timestamps, which could invalidate the evidence. Hash verification. After imaging, you calculate the SHA-256 hash of both the original drive and the image. They must watch exactly one bit different, and those 256 characters change completely. This proves the image is a perfect copy with no tampering. Memory acquisition is the process of copying the volatile memory of a running computer into a non-volatile storage device for forensic analysis. It is a critical first step in digital forensics because volatile memory contains temporary live data such as running processes, unencrypted passwords, and network connections that disappear entirely when the system is powered down. Forensics investigators follow the order of volatility, which dictates the most fragile data must be collected first, such as CPU registers and cache memory, routing tables, ARP cache, process tables, kernel statistics, temporary file system, or swap space. And it should have a proper documentation, photograph, label, and document everything at the scene before touching any device. Let's go further. Chain of custody. Chain of custody is the documented proof that evidence has been handled properly at every stage, from cancellation to the courtroom. Think of it like the baton is a real race. Every time the baton passes from one person to another, you document you who handed it over, who received it, at what time, what condition it was in. If there's a gap in that documentation, any moment where you can't account for where the evidence was or who had it, a defense attorney will argue in court that the evidence could have been tampered with during that gap, and they might win. What the chain of custody form records: case number, ID description, date and time of collection, who collected it, and how it was packaged and sealed. Every person who has since accessed it, why they accessed it, and what they did. Tamper evident packaging. Once evidence is collected, it goes into tamper evident bags. If anyone opens them, it's obvious every bag is signed, dated, and initialed across the seal. Digital chain of custody uses hashes as the seal. If the hash of a file when you collected it matches the hash when you present it in court, the digital chain of custody is intact. Nobody altered that file. Let's have a real example. In many cybercrime prosecutions, cases have been dismissed not because the suspect was innocent, but because the investigation team didn't follow chain of custody procedures. Evidence was ruled inadmissible. That's why procedure matters as much as technical skills in forensic. Forensic tools. Let me introduce the main tools in Forensic Investigators Toolkit, Autopsy, and the Sleuth Kit. This is your all in one forensic workbench, open source, powerful, used by law enforcement worldwide. You load a disk image and it automatically does timeline analysis, keyword search, hash matching against known malware databases, file carving to recover deleted files, email analysis, browser history extraction, and it's genuinely impressive. Next is FTK, that is Forensic Toolkit, the commercial alternative, favorite of law enforcement agencies, particularly good at decryption and password cracking for protected evidence. Next, volatility. This is specifically for memory forensics. You give it a RAM dump and it can tell you every process running at the moment, every network connection open, every registry key in memory, every password hash cached, every encryption key loaded, and malware often lives entirely in memory. Volatility can find it. Let me show you volatility on a sample memory dump. I'll show you within a while. First, let's complete this tools. Next is Wireshark. You have probably heard of it, right? While it's primarily a network tool, in forensics you analyze previously captured packets, files, PCAPs. You can reconstruct entire TCP sessions, recover files that were transferred over the network, see DNS lookups, identify C2, that is command and control communication. The forensic analyst's job is to tell a story from digital artifacts. What time did the attacker first access the system? What credentials did they use? What commands did they run? What files did they touch? Each tool gives you pieces of that story. Kali Linux. It is a security focused distro with 600 plus tools, including forensic suite, foremost bulk extractor, and many more. Now let's go further. Let's see the demo on log analysis. So this is Kali Linux. Let's open terminal. So here first I have installed and I have some fake auth logs I have created. I have just copy pasted it from Google. I have just created this fake auth logs for the demo. And log analysis, this is what SOC analysis do every day. You have thousands of lines of log files and you need to find the needle in the haystack. So let me show you how to do this efficiently using just the command line. So this is the authentication log. Every log attempt on this system gets recorded. Yes, the tail 30 means it show me the last 30 lines in a real server under attack. This file could have millions of lines. We need smarter ways to read it. So let's do. Just a second. See, you can see. Now let's see. View the full log. For that, we will be typing the same command, but we will be removing tail 30. Yes. Let's go further. Now let's find all the failed logins. For that, we will be typing. So these are the failed passwords you can see. Yes. Now let's count the attacks per IP, the most powerful command. Come on. grep is a search tool. I'm asking to search through the entire auth log, demo auth log, and show me only lines containing failed password. So in real brute force attack, you would see hundreds or thousands of these lines, all from the same IP addresses, trying different passwords rapidly. And let me say it like AWK print $11 extracts just the 11th word from each line, which is the IP address, and it sort puts them in order. Unique C counts how many times each IP appears, and sort NR sorts by count. Highest first, head 10 shows only the top 10. The result, a ranked list of IP addresses most suspicious at the top. If you see one IP with 500 attempts, that's a brute force attack. You take that IP and immediately block it in your firewall. Sudo UFW deny from that IP. Okay, now let's go further. Let's find successful logins. For that, we will be typing. You can see the results. We have got two successful ones. Now, this is a little critical investigation, like successful logins, right? After a brute force attack, did any of them succeeded? Any IP here that looks unfamiliar is a red flag. Unknown IP logged in successfully at 3 a.m. That's your breach information right there. In a real incident investigation, you cross-reference failed logins from IPs X, then a successful login from IP X. That tells the story of a successful brute force. Now let's see the timeline approach. Let's type the command for it. Yes. When building an incident timeline, you want everything related to one service in chronological order. This shows related events like failed attempts, successful logins, disconnections in time order. This is how investigations reconstruct exactly what happened. 5 commands, and you can reconstruct an entire attack story from log files. This is a real world SOC work. In your lab, I'll give you, you can take a log file with a simulated attack hidden file inside it. You can find the attacker's IP, identify what they were targeting, and determine whether they succeeded or not. This is exactly the kind of exercise that appears in security jobs. Yes, now let's go to the next slide. Go back to our PPT. Let's go further. Okay, before this, let's take one more demo. We will be taking demo on Wireshark packets. So let's go back to Kali Linux. Yes. Yeah, so this one is going to blow your mind a little. Wireshark is a packet analyzer. It lets you see everything traveling through your network in real time. Every website request, every login, every piece of data. Let me show you why this matters for security. So let's open, go to applications. Let's search for Wireshark. Now in Wireshark, you will see a list of network interfaces. See, these are the list of network interfaces. You can see. Let's click on ETH0 or whichever shows the activity. Like you can see the wave line. We have seen the little wave line on it. Now, just click this Start Capturing Packets button. Yes, it is on the top left corner. See, it has started capturing. I have selected my network interface and think of this as choosing which wire to listen on. And I have started the capture. Watch the packets scrolling. Every single line is one piece of network communication. It looks overwhelming right now, but we are going to filter it down. Now let's generate some traffic. Let's go to Firefox. We will be going to http example.com. HTTP, not S. Okay, it's important. See, it's written not secure. Now let's go back to Wireshark and stop the capture with this red square button. Okay, let's stop capturing. Now we have stopped capturing. So now I just visited example.com using HTTP and no S is at the end. Now let me filter the results to show only HTTP traffic. Okay. Now let's see. Yes, so let's apply the filter where it will be showing us HTTP packets. Let's go there. Display filters. Um, so we are typing HTTP in the so we have typed HTTP in the filter bar. See, you can see all the HTTP are there. Now you can see only the HTTP packets. Look at this get request. This is my browser asking example.com for their home page. So I'll be tapping to this get request and let's see what happens. So this is the actual content of the packet, completely readable. I can see the website address, the browser type, the operating system, even the content of the page that came back. Everything is in plain text. Yes, see. Now here's the scary part. If I was on a public Wi-Fi like at cafe and say someone on the same network was running Wireshark, they would see exactly this, your login page, your username, your password, all readable. This is why HTTP is dangerous. So now let's see HTTPS and how it's different. So for that, let's go back to our file explorer. Let's type HTTPS example. Yes. So now this is domain is for like this is a secured one. Now let's get back to our Wireshark. Let's start capturing. Let's see. Let's wait for 10 seconds. See, it has captured these many. Yes. These are all captured packets. Wireshark has captured. And now let's type in the filter bar TLS. Yes. Now let's just click on any packet that is TLS. See, we will be clicking on this and see the bottom panel. You can see that the data is encrypted. We, we cannot understand what's there. That's TLS encryption working. Okay, this is the difference between sending a postcard where anyone handling it can read it versus sending a sealed logged letter. Okay, HTTP is the postcard and HTTPS is the logged letter. Always check for the padlock icon and HTTPS before entering any sensitive information online. Okay, so this is how it looks. See, now let's go back to our filter. Let's type, say, we will be typing DNS. Okay, enter. So before your browser even connects to a website, it asks what is the IP address of google.com. That's a DNS query. Okay, look at these packets. You can see every single website My computer looked up every domain, even in HTTPS, DNN queries were traditionally unencrypted, meaning your ISP and anyone on your network could see every website you visit, even if the content was encrypted. This is why DNS is over HTTPS and VPNs matter. They hide even these lookups. Okay, see. So this is Wireshark is the most edu- good educational tool in the networking. Security professionals use it for troubleshooting, for forensics, for understanding protocols. But as a student, the best way to learn networking is to just run Wireshark while you browse and watch what happens. You will understand TCP and IP better in 1 hour with Wireshark than in 10 hours of reading a textbook. That's true. Now let's get back to our PPT. Okay. Incident response. This is where everything comes together. You have learned how attacks come to happen. You have learned how to detect them. Now it's 3 a.m., your phone is ringing, your SIEM is screaming alerts, and your manager is asking, are we breached? What do you actually do? That's incident response. Let's walk through it step by step. Incident response life cycle. The NIST SP 861 framework, it is the gold standard IR guide that breaks incident response into 6 phases. Every security team follows this. Phase 1, preparation. This is everything you do before an incident. Build your IR plan. Who is on the IR team? What are their roles? How do you communicate during an incident? If email is compromised, do you see a separate channel? What tools do you have ready? What are the playbooks for common scenarios like ransomware or data breach? The quality of your preparation directly determines how well you handle the real thing. Yes? Phase 2, detection and analysis. Something fires, an alert, an employee reports something weird, a customer reports that they can't log in. Your job here is this a real incident or a false positive? If real, how bad is it? What's affected? And what's the attack vector? Phase 3, containment. Stop the bleeding. Yes, prevent the attacker from doing more damage while you figure what's happening. This means isolating affected systems, blocking malicious IPs, and disabling compromised accounts. Phase 4, eradication. Once contained, find and remove every trace of the attacker. Malware, backdoors, unauthorized accounts, persistence mechanisms. Be thorough. If you miss one backdoor, you will be back at phase 2 in a week. Phase 5, recovery. It brings systems back to the operational status. Yes. From clean backups, patch the exploited vulnerability first. Phase 6, it is post incident review. What can we learn from it? Update the IR plan and add detection rules. Brief the team again. The loop never ends. Each incident feeds back into better preparation for the next one. Yes, let's go to the next slide. That is detection and analysis. Because this is where experience really counts. So let's start. IoCs, that is indicators of compromise, are the breadcrumbs attackers leave behind. IP addresses of C2 servers, domain names used for data exfiltration, file hashes of malware, registry keys created for persistence, user agents in weblogs. Once you identify one IOC, threat intelligence platforms like VirusTotal, MISP, or commercial threat feeds can give you dozens of related IOCs, essentially a profile of the attack. The first question in analysis is what is SCOPE? Yes, it is one machine, one user, one office, and the entire company. Scope determines urgency and resources. One compromised laptop handled by one analyst. Active ransomware spreading across the network. All hands on deck. MITRE attack framework. MITRE attack framework is your cheat sheet for understanding attacker behavior. It documents every known tactic and technique used by real threat actors, organized by attack phase. When you see a suspicious command line like PowerShell.exe encrypted base64 string, you look it up in attack and find it's under execution PowerShell. Now you know what the attacker is trying to do, and you can check attack for what they are likely to do next. SIEM correlation is critical. One failed login is noise. 500 failed logins against 50 accounts from one IP is 60 seconds is a pattern. The SIM catches it and fires an alert. Your job as an analyst is to investigate that alert, determine if it's malicious, and trigger the appropriate playbook. Let's go further. Containment strategies. Containment is often the hardest decision because it requires balancing security against business continuity. Simple example is a critical production server is compromised. The safest security action is to immediately take it to offline. But if that server processes 10,000 financial transactions per hour, taking it offline costs real money and affects real customers. So, do you take it offline immediately or do you try to contain it while keeping it running? There's no universal answer. It depends on the nature of the compromise, the business impact, and legal obligations. If customer data is being exfiltrated right now, you might be legally required to stop it immediately. Network isolation techniques like VLAN isolation move the compromised machine to an isolated VLAN with no access to anything. Firewall rules block all outbound traffic from the affected IP. Physical disconnect. Unplug unplug the network cable for the most critical isolations. The order matters. Evidence first, then containment. If you are going to shut down a machine, image the RAM first. Once it's powered off, that volatile evidence is gone forever. Account lockdown is immediate. Any credential you believe is compromised must be disabled now, not as soon as possible. Change passwords, revoke tokens, terminate active sessions. Attackers' persistence through stolen credentials is the number one way attackers maintain access after initial detection. Yes. Further, recovery procedures. Recovery is the most satisfying phase. It's where you bring things back to life. But patience here prevents you from having to do it all over again. Verify eradication completely before recovery. This sounds obvious, but is the most common mistake. Teams under pressure to restore service rush recovery. miss a backdoor or a compromised credential, and the attacker is back in within 48 hours. Treat the environment as hostile until you have done a thorough eradication check. Clean, restore, always from a backup taken before the compromise. How far before? That depends on your forensic timeline. If the attacker had been in your system for 6 months before detection, that is, which happens more than you would think, average attacker dwell time is 197 days. If you need to restore from 6 months ago and accept the data loss. Patch first, recover second. If the attacker got in through a specific vulnerability, patch it before the recovered system goes back online. Otherwise, you have just given them a fresh, clean machine with the same door unlocked. Monitoring after recovery, that is post recovery monitoring. Turn it up to maximum for at least 30 days. Attackers sometimes have Attackers sometimes have multiple footholds. Watch for any sign of reinfection. Be paranoid. It's warranted. The post incident report is often undervalued but incredibly important. It documents the timeline, the root cause, the full impact, every action taken. It's used for management reporting, legal regulatory requirements, insurance claims, and most importantly, lessons learned so you don't get hit the same way twice. Now let's go further. These are the important labs we have covered: firewall configuration, log analysis, and incident handling. In incident handling, you can take an example of virus total or MIS systems. So this was our firewall configuration lab, where our goal was that you can set up a firewall for you. So well, we used UFW here, that is uncomplicated firewall. It can be used on Ubuntu, Linux, or as I have used it in Kali Linux too. Despite the name, UFW is a powerful front end to IP tables. The mindset for firewall rules is default deny, start with everything blocked, then explicitly allow only what you need. This is much safer than the alternative, default allow, and try to block the bad stuff. You will always miss something if you try to enumerate the bad. You can enumerate the good. Okay, let's go next. It is log analysis. Security people live in logs. Your ability to extract meaningful information from large log files quickly is one of the most practical skills in today's and in this entire course. We are working with auth.log, the Linux authentication log. Every login attempt, successful or failed, appears here. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's understand incident handling by taking a real world scenario. Say you are the on call security analyst. At 2:47 a.m., your SIEM fires a critical alert. An endpoint in the finance department is making connections to a known ransomware C2 server. Multiple files have been renamed with a .logged extension in the last 60 seconds. You have one compromised VM and you need to handle this incident. So step 1 will be triage, that is verify the alert is real. Is this actually ransomware or a false positive? Check EDR telemetry. What process is remaining in renaming files? What started it? How long has it been active? Scope assessment. Is it contained to one machine or spreading? Okay. The step 2 is contain, that is isolate the VM from the network immediately, document its current state, take a memory dump before everything else, preserve the evidence. Okay. Now the step 3 is investigate. Using volatility on your memory dump, list all processes, look for unusual ones, check network connections at the time of dump, look for injected code. Using Autopsy, timeline the file system changes, identify the ransomware binary, and find persistence mechanisms, and auto run registry keys, scheduled tasks. Step 4, eradicate and recover. Identify all compromised files, restore from yesterday's snapshot, pre-infection, patch the vulnerability that was exploited. We will tell you what it was, return to operations. Step 5, report. Write a one-page IR report, that is, incident timeline, root cause, initial attack vector, full impact, all actions taken, recommendations to prevent recurrence. This lab simulates what a real level 2 SOC analyst does. If you can do this lab competently, you have a legitimate marketable skill. Now let's go to the next slide. So, key takeaways. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with the 5 principles that tie everything we learned today together. These aren't just catchy phrases, they are the philosophy that drives every security decision in the best organization. The first one, defense in depth. Layer multiple security controls. Layer them, firewall fails. IDS catches it, IDS misses it, EDR catches it, EDR misses it. You catch it in your logs. Each layer compensates for the weakness in the others. Second, assume breach. Always plan for detection and response. Plan as if attackers are already inside. This mindset completely changes how you design security inside of how do I prevent all intrusions, which is impossible. You ask, how do I detect intrusions quickly and limit what attackers can access? Microsegmentation, zero trust architecture, all rooted in assume bridge. Third, least privilege, minimize attack surface everywhere. For users, for services, for applications, the blast radius of any compromise is limited by privileges of whatever got compromised. Fourth, patch early, patch often. Most breaches exploit known CVEs. That is, seriously, most breaches are boring. They exploit known vulnerabilities with available patches. Don't be that story. Patch your stuff. Fifth, log everything. You can't respond to what you can't see. Log every authentication, every network connection, every process execution, every file access. Store those logs somewhere the attacker can't delete them and actually look at them or have tools look at them. These five principles applied consistently will make any organization significantly harder to breach than 90% of organizations out there. And that brings us to the end of this session on Advanced Cybersecurity Part 2. I genuinely hope this was useful, and my goal was always to make these concepts feel real and approachable. Cybersecurity is a field where you never stop learning. Attackers are constantly evolving, so defenders have to evolve faster. But now you have a solid foundation. You understand the principles, the tools, the processes, and the mindset. If you have any questions, whether it's about concepts we covered or tools to practice with, you can just send your queries on biotechrebion@gmail.com. Thank you so much.